Out of all the HBCU prospects in the draft this year, Keshaun Moore is by far Gerald Huggins' personal favorite. Oh yeah, it's Locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked on HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked on HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked on HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. You can see it right there at the bottom of your screen. But if you don't, that just means you're on the audio side of things. Ain't nothing wrong with your TV or nothing. Ain't nothing wrong with your laptop or phone. Just means you're on the audio side of things. And don't forget the S on the end of South Exclusives. Now, Draft HBCU's Gerald Huggins comes on to talk about why Mark Evans is the best HBCU prospect in the draft, why Emmanuel Wilson is still a high-profile player despite the fact that he more than likely is going to be a UDFA undrafted free agent in this draft class, but he's going to kick it off talking about his personal favorite, Mr. Violence himself, Keshaun Moore. And violence in the most nice way possible. Okay, Gerald, so we're going to start off with your favorite player, who is Keshaun Moore. And it's a player who you don't have number one, but it's a personal favorite to you. Is it a style of play? Is it a versatility? What is it that makes him your personal favorite HBCU prospect this year?
I guess, on top of, first I'll say I got a chance to get to know him. So like,
right, that'll do it.
Yeah, great dude. Like, great dude. He's a football player. Like, some guys like to play football. Some people love to play football. Some people are football players. He's a football player. Is what he was born to do. It's like, but granted, so this out here. He could possibly be WWE champion one day. Just throwing it out there. That is a possibility, which is really cool. When you like scouting a guy, you're like, oh wow, he was one of the few HBCU guys. I think he might have been the only HBCU guy to get the WWE NIL deal. Like, that's just dope. But on the football side, his versatility is my favorite part. It's like you can't. There's no one else in the draft that has played the amount of positions he's played on the defensive side of the ball at a high level too. By the way, he was a high level on the interior defensive line, on the edge, and he was a linebacker. Nobody else can say they did that. Nobody. Definitely not HBCU football. I'm still waiting for someone. I need to tweet it out again. Nobody can tell me someone that played nose guard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 backer. No one can tell me that someone ever put. No one in college football did it. So I just think he's a guy you just can't miss on. A guy that's 6'2", 280 pounds, 4'7", 40, 35 reps on the bench. He has a tape. He played at JMU. Played at one of the best JUCOs in college football at Lackawanna Community College that produced some of the greatest HBCU players you're gonna see in this era. I'll just say that in this era. And then he goes to Hampton and he goes all conference in one of the toughest conferences in FCS from what people say. What else did he need to do? And he went postseason play. The postseason All-Star games, he did exactly what he was. He interviewed well. He tested well. He had, how many bowl games he had? I think he was like 2 or 3. Might have been 2. 2 bowl games. And he won MVP on his first one he was in. Right. So it's like, there's nothing else I think he needs to do to showcase that he is a top defensive line prospect, definitely in the FCS. And I just like versatility when it comes to defensive line, man. When you could just tell a guy he could go play 0-1 play and he could go on the edge one play. Oh, let's throw you in the back as a backer. It's just, for a defensive coordinator, it's like, oh man, I don't got to do too much subbing in and out. It's a beautiful thing, So all those factors, and it's the fact that overall, you're just rooting for a guy like him, man. Just rooting for him. Very humble guy. hardworking guy. Just rooting for him.
And you spoke about his versatility. He did all of these things in college. You would assume he probably won't do all of those things in the league. He'll probably stick to one, maybe two, depending on where he is, but likely one position.
Mhm.
What do you think suits him best on the if he makes it to the NFL? What position would you like to see him at?
Man, I'd like to see him at 3 tech, man. I really would. 6'2", 6'2" and change, 280 pounds, a little bit plus. I mean, he carries 280 better than most. I mean, I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald, but I mean, he carried. No one thought he was 280 pounds. I did not think that Keshaun Moore was 280 pounds.
Right.
Most people thought he was 240. Like I did. I think he's 245. He came in. I think. Well, he used to be like 220 pounds. I believe that when he was in JUCO, he wasn't a big guy, and then like his body just carries that weight so well. He has the strength. He has the quickness. I think a lot of guys gonna have to start making this decision. These kind of oversized edge guys. Edge guys are getting small. Ain't a lot of
Mhm.
big edge guys anymore. You know what I'm saying? The Charles Johnsons of the world, the Greg Hardys. I'm a Panthers fan, so I'm just naming two big guys. But it's just not a lot of just huge 290-pound edge rushes. You know what I'm saying? And like for a guy like him, who has the ability to rush the pass from all across the board, and he has the speed to beat offensive linemen on the interior, and more than likely he's stronger than most of the guys that's blocking him too. So you put down the interior, and nowadays I think the best pass rushers might be on the interior defensive line now. It's not like it used to be. Like we
Yeah.
got guys like Chris Jones that are routinely getting double-digit sacks. Like it's nothing. I mean, you got Quentin Williams. You got so many young, just amazing interior pass rushes, man. And I just think you create that pressure up the middle, you make a quarterback way more uncomfortable because now it's right in his line of sight. He can't see the edge rushers coming for the most part. So for a guy like Keshaun Moore that has the versatility and athleticism to be able to move all across the board, I just think 3 tech would be the best spot for him. In a good system, a 3 tech and a 4-3, or a 5 technique, 4-eye ish, and a 3-4. I can see it too. I think those are the
Yeah,
best suits.
I agree. And I think that when you have a guy who's a jack of all trades type of player, often people try to narrow them down when doing scouting to what they do best. And it can be a little bit difficult. When you're looking at Keshaun Moore, what is his calling card?
Violence.
I like that.
No, he just wants to run into somebody's face. Like no, he's he's violent, he's instinctual. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
he's disciplined. From me watching tape, he's very disciplined with his keys. He's disciplined with his hands and his hand placement. Disciplined with his leverage. Doesn't get a ton of penalties. I like him. I like him. I think his his best quality being violence is. I know it sounds very cliche because you want all your defensive linemen to be violent. Yeah, but every defensive lineman is not that violent. They're
Right.
just not. And some make it to the league. I don't know how, but some are just not that violent. He loves it. Like bring on the double team, bring on the triple team. He doesn't care. He's still gonna make sure that your job is gonna be way harder if you try to block me. Definitely with one person. So for a guy like him, his violent nature, his violent hands, his violent hip and shoulder turn at the top of his rushes, his violent block shedding, which is most important because he just gets got when he locks out on you and he wants to get rid of you, you're going wherever he decides he wants you to go. You know, listen, everybody has their mistakes where sometimes he might let someone in his chest every now and again. It happens, but for the most part, he's engaging first. He's getting those big, strong hands on people. He's locking them arms out, and he's gonna roll his hips into you, and then he might knock you off your butt or right off the line of scrimmage. So for him, the violence, if he keeps that, like he just goes into a camp and just first one-on-one or first board drill, whatever they do, he can just run into somebody's face. That's what he's gonna do, no doubt. That's his nature, and I love that about it. Everything about him is
Violence.
violent.
Violence.
Violent.
No, I love it. And going forward, we're going to talk about a prospect who is one of your personal favorites for the undrafted free agents, not guys. So basically, this is somebody he doesn't think is going to be drafted. but it's still a player he likes a lot. And we're talking about Fort Valley State's Emmanuel Wilson as we continue with Locked on HBCU. Before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your offer. But I understand that not everybody has the patience. Some people who have tasted Built Bars said, I can't wait for shipping. And as somebody who eats Built Bars on a regular basis, I would understand that. And if that's how you feel, go to Walmart. Go to Sam's Club, get you a 4-pack, get you a 13-pack, and there'll be instant gratification for you. Now, me personally, I do like to go to built.com and save myself a little bit of money. I prefer to save a little money rather than exude that I have no patience. So I like to go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, check out some of their newest flavors. My personal favorite is S'mores Built Puff at the moment. It used to be Built Blueberry Muffin, but right now, moving with that S'mores Built Puff. And as we continue with Locked on HBCU, I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day every day for your second listen. Stick right here on the network and check out the Locked on NFL mock draft with all of our local hosts breaking down picks 1 through, I think it's like 250 something, but rounds 1 through 7. They're doing a whole mock draft and it's right there on YouTube for you. Now, as far as HBCU prospects go, and some of our HBCU prospects will be picked in that draft. I have Gerald Huggins of Draft HBCU here to talk about one of his favorite undrafted free agent prospects, and that's Emmanuel Wilson out of Fort Valley State. You have him in the draft guide as a ceiling of being a UDFA. Do you think this is the correct slot for him, or do you think he's somebody who should garner some late round attention as well?
I guess most of my analysis on him is like, okay, yeah, he should be drafted, no doubt. He
Mhm.
should be drafted. However, the running back market, as we know, is not what it used to be. People feel like they could get them a guy. I mean, look at Isaiah Pacheco. Got him 7th round. He's helping them win a Super Bowl. People just believe that you don't need a running back in the first day or two to get you to get someone that's consistently be a solid ball carrier, pass protector, and catcher out of the backfield for you. Now, that's just what the reality is. However, does Emmanuel Wilson have a draftable grade? Yeah, some people have a draftable grade on Emmanuel Wilson. I do as well. But just the way the world works, I was okay. Worst case for him, he is preferred free. I mean, like he's literally right after the draft is done. Emmanuel Wilson's getting a call, or 2, or 3, or 4, or 5. I've seen that he's visited with the Packers and the Panthers as of now, which is solid because the Panthers do have a need still. Miles Sanders is going to be the guy, but it wouldn't hurt to have a nice running back similar to Foreman. With the way they run, hard runner, downhill runner, one cut, can catch the ball at the backfield, and guess what? One cut, you got that 5'11", 230 plus pound running back coming full speed at you. It's a shot. I know teams are going to bring him into camp. Preferred, similar to like Marquise Bell being one of the higher paid preferred free agents, undrafted rookie free agents. I can see Wilson being in that realm. Like, yeah, he's gonna probably make it into someone's camp and probably make it into like at least bare minimum make someone's practice squad. But Wilson will be in the picture.
Yeah, his teammate Shamar Bridges just made the practice squad for the Ravens last year. So it'll be kind of a similar turn of events for former teammates. When I look at Emmanuel Wilson in the state of running backs and I try to see where he looks or where he falls, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
For running backs, it's guys who can catch and it's guys who don't. It's kind of like we have uses for both, but it's the haves and the have-nots. Where does Emmanuel Wilson fall? Because I know he didn't do it that much. So ejection. So maybe I'll change it. Where will Emmanuel Wilson fall?
Emmanuel Wilson can catch the ball.
Right.
He like you said, just not a lot of opportunity to, because they probably felt the reason waited for them to win was to like, listen, we got our bell cow, we're gonna run them, and that's fine. And I believe they have. I mean, not believe they have a solid quarterback down there who likes to push the ball down the field if he can. So not a lot of dink and dunk, definitely at the running back position. So I'm not too mad at that. So for me, I don't want people to knock him, for his quote unquote lack of production in the passing game. He just wasn't afforded that ability to do it. Now, what he can do is pass protect. Now that's
Okay.
important.
Very.
So it doesn't hurt that you have a guy. Okay, he's a small school guy. We know he can run. We know he can run. HBCU running backs, they know. If any scout knows that, we can know how to run because we're gonna run a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he pass protect. And at 5'11", 235, you're not just gonna run through his chest. He has really strong base. He knows he has really strong hips. So when a linebacker or he ends up having to pick up a defensive lineman, he has the ability to get under them, roll his hips into them, and knock them the opposite way, give the quarterback some more time to make a solid play. So with that being said, um, with the way he's able to run the ball and how hard he runs, his versatility to be able to catch out of the backfield, and his ability to block in the passing game, you have to say that, maybe the UDFA, the preferred free agent, may be, I won't say it's ceiling, but that's probably what we should be expecting. And
Okay.
I mean, the best chance is he may get a 7th round selection. It may happen, but
At best.
they like to get HBCU guys that they know are really good for cheap. That's just how it goes sometimes. It's just the way of the business. I hate that it has to be that way, but a lot of our guys don't get picked very high, and they probably should have, but you can always get them cheap, like a Marquise Bell. Marquise Bell's supposed to be a day 2 guy.
Yeah, that
At
hurt.
worst, day 3.
That
You
hurt.
So yeah, it hurt a lot of us. I was definitely that one hit me a little hard. I mean, I was happy for the guys that got drafted. I'm happy for Bell and Dixon, the guys that get their preferred free agent. And then you have guys like Shamar Bridges and guys like McDaniel that were able to get their signage to go to camp. Beautiful. But it's like, dang, that was our best guy.
That was the one. I talked about that yesterday. I talked about that. That was the one.
Yeah,
Like,
like he's like he. I mean, his RAS score was phenomenal, as in like your raw athletic score, like damn near perfect score. I mean, he
oh
did
my
everything
god.
he's supposed to do. Everything he's supposed to do, but it's all good. He's there. They brought him back again, which means they see something in him. I know they kind of feel like they're solidified in the back end. I personally, I think they should be able to work him into a big nickel, or nickel situation, or be able to play him a little bit more free or strong safety. But that's a whole other thing. So with Wilson,
Yes.
a team's gonna really enjoy him, man, because he's a very tough runner, and he seems like he's another good high character kid as well. So I just want to shout out to he's one of the few players I actually bought his shirt. I supported his shirt.
There
I
you
got
go.
to
It
buy.
looked nice.
Yeah, oh no, it's good material and everything. All 3,059,000 cajillion dollars I spent for it, but it goes into his pocket. So Wilson, much love, my brother. Hopefully, but but yes, this is beautiful. I mean, I'm gonna wear this when he gets drafted or he gets picked up. I'm going to make sure I throw on the shirt.
You
You
got to
know,
wear it Saturday. You have
yeah.
to wear it Saturday. All
Listen,
day. Start
I'm
to
with
finish, you
you.
got to wear it.
Yeah, I'm wearing it. Listen, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna wear it, and I just want to just make sure that he understands that he's defying the odds, man. I'm telling you, what happened with nothing shocks me anymore after what happened with Ronnie Thomas, man. Whatever
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, that brother made it. A lot of our guys got a legit shot, so I am
Yeah.
ecstatic.
Let's move into the guy who's number one.
Hmm.
The number one player on your top 20 HBCU prospects list. We broke that down a couple of weeks ago. You finally dropped it. I've been waiting patiently.
I,
But nothing changed. I don't think
no,
anything changed on that
no,
list from
no.
when we talked about it. But Mark Evans, University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff left tackle, soon to be NFL left guard, is number one on that list. And we're going to break him down as we wrap up today's episode of Locked on HBCU. And as wrapping up today's episode of Locked on HBCU, I still have Gerald Huggins of Draft HBCU breaking down his favorite player, which was Keshaun Moore. His, I guess we'll say favorites or just UDFA that he wanted to talk about, Emmanuel Wilson. And now we're getting to the guy that he feels is the best. Mark Evans is the top HBCU prospect for you now. It wasn't that way a year ago. We thought it was Jordan Lewis. And I think we might have had Isaiah Land above Evans too. I'm not sure, but I know Jordan Lewis was number one. What made Mark Evans jump those other guys in the past 365 days?
Man, his body of work over his long career of starting at UAPB, I just had to really just sit back, look back at the tape as far as I can, and just really say, man, this guy has really been the guy since he was like 19 years old, 18 years old. Like, granted, they all three of those guys, like Jordan Lewis, Isaiah Land, Evans, they all progressed as they went through their years at matriculated through HBCU. Not saying. I just feel like Evans, one, had a tougher task trying to block some of these edge rushes. As you can see, this SWAC was full of them since he's been there. He's been able to be a solid presence on the weak side or blind side of an offense of a quarterback for 4 years, man. And he's gotten better with his run blocking. He's tenacious. He's strong hands. I tell people stop looking at the raw athletic score for everybody. It don't really show on the tape. I mean, the athleticism that he showcased in the combine, it's like that. People want to knock him for it. But granted, you gotta watch the tape. His tape, ultimately, he has the best tape to me out of all the guys that I've looked at up and down. I love Keshaun Moore. I love Isaiah Land. Love Aubrey Miller. Love him. And I'm a defensive line guy. But I can appreciate an offensive lineman that I can personally say would have gave me some dang trouble. I'm just called a spade. He went against, I believe, oh my God, did he go? He went against Jordan Lewis. I believe he went against, did he go against Land in his career? I believe he did. I got to look.
He did, but Land often lines up on that left side. So I know. The amount of snaps they played against each other was limited.
However, it's just, in his FBS opponents, he played very well. That's the big thing for me. When he played out of conference, when he played FBS talent, he showed out at a position that people don't even think he's going to play next level. But I was continuing to tell people, Kelvin Beachum, think of Kelvin Beachum. Every time you think of Mark Evans, just say Kelvin Beachum. So don't rush to throw that man on the inside. Can he play it? Sure, because he showed that he's adaptable because he's been playing starting left tackle in the SWAC since he was a teenager. So he can do it. He's gotten better. However, don't rush him. If that's where he's comfortable, and if you just care about height that much, okay, move him inside. That's all it is, just height. Because everybody wants the big tackle, big left tackle, big tall Trent Williams looking guy. Granted, love Trent, amazing, but that ain't everybody's calling card. Kelvin Beachum is, he's not Trent Williams, but guess what? You're pretty comfortable with having him on your blind side, and he's been since he's been in the league. So for Mark Evans, his body of work, good character kid too. Interviews very well. Interviews amazing. Even when I was talking to scouts at the Shrine Bowl, interviews very well. And like the need for an offensive lineman that could block. I mean, I know that sounds very, very simple, but the need for offensive lineman with a body of work of his, you kind of want that. Definitely a guy that's versatile like him that can play guard, tackle, and you can play center if he wants to. You can't turn your back on that. You can't. He's showcased that he's been the best offensive lineman in the SWAC for pretty much the past 4 years. I'll say no, probably the last two years. Man, he's been the guy for the past 2 years.
Right.
It's been like him and Carter had their battle last year. Well, can I say last? I guess I say last year now. So
I know what you mean. 2021.
Yeah. So they had that battle. But for the most part, Evans been the guy. So he showcased that he's been the guy. He showcased that he could play against top competition. He played in the All-Star game that also showcased he could play against top competition. He was invited to the combine. You're not invited to the comp. Oh God, we'll see. Then Marquise Bell's about to ruin this statement for me. But more than likely, if you're an HBCU guy that's going to the combine, chances are you are in someone's thoughts for getting drafted. So let me just scale back on that because
Man, that Marquise Bell, I ain't gonna lie, that's gonna hurt me. That's
yeah,
gonna haunt me. You couldn't
yeah,
tell me he wasn't the. You know what? We're keeping it positive. We're gonna keep it on
he's
this
gonna
year's person, and we're gonna knock on wood.
he's gonna get his money back. No worries,
100%, a hundred
he's gonna get his
percent.
money back.
Now,
So, but yeah,
when looking at Mark Evans and him going into the NFL, what part of his game do you think would translate the quickest?
his pass blocking ability. Uh, he has a knack for it. His biggest thing is once he gets on you early, it's kind of similar to like a DB in a press technique. Some DB like Keenan Isaac, you just get it if he get in on you early, he won. But sometimes if he gets a little lax with his technique, then you might get him. But for the most part, when it comes to his pass blocking ability, he has a really good punch. He's getting better with reworking his hands to make sure he gets that inside in the fighting to get the inside control. Doesn't hold too much. All offensive linemen hold, but his
100%.
aren't
We know this.
egregious. They aren't egregious to the point where like, man, we can't play this guy. No, it's not like that. So for the most part, Mark Evans, his pass blocking ability, his athleticism. That's what I'm saying. The tape shows that he's athletic enough to stay in front of these fast edge rushes. But yeah, the combine may the 40, the shuttle. That I get it. But look at the drills that he did. He looked fluid. He's able to block in open space. He's been doing it left on the island for a while. And then also his athleticism to block in space against linebackers and defensive backs. Very, 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 very instinctual guy as well, and he's smart. When you see him block against these different loops and stunts, you can tell that he's watched film. You can tell that he knows when certain things are coming. So, for me, his football IQ is being high. His athleticism on the field, on tape, to be able to stay in front of these athletic edge rushers. His tenacity, his punch, his big, strong hands. You have a solid offensive lineman there on the interior or the exterior. And I think the one thing you said he probably tell you to work out just the little things when it comes to just going against the run. Just little things. Just like he's a finisher. Don't get me wrong, he's a finisher. You'd like to see a little more, or just
Right.
little things about just getting your head in front on a down block. Just little things. Like that. When you go into the second level, you don't want to overrun it. You know what I'm saying? You want to stay tight. Squeeze down. Your bump block or whatever they may call it. I don't whatever they call that combo, but slip, bump. Once you step down, you make sure your teammate they will slide over, and then you go to the second level, create that gap. Don't leave too early. Simple play.
Yeah,
So
little
just,
things, little
yeah,
tweaks.
little tweak that you could fix with. He's gonna have NFL offensive line coaching. Depending on where he's at, he might have one of the best. Well, there's a lot of good offensive line coaches in the NFL I like. So you just never know. He has to go to the right situation, but he's a guy that you can plug in. I'm not saying start week 1, but you can plug him in. Plug him in and let him see what he can do.
I like it, man, and I appreciate you because it's draft week. So I hit you up a little late, but you worked with me. You were able to get in here so we could get it done early in the week, and we'll have you coming back on Friday, probably Friday afternoon. That'll drop. I wish we're not gonna do a live show. My Wi-Fi isn't good enough for that. But if it was, we would, but it's not, so we're not. But but Gerald to be back on Friday. I always appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you also for making us your first listen of the day every single day. On tomorrow's episode, we're going to be doing an Aubrey Miller scouting breakdown. So this is my second scouting breakdown ever. So let's see. I used to play linebacker. Why'd I say that, G? Why'd I say that? Why'd I put that extra pressure on myself to really excel with this breakdown? I done did it now. I can't take it back. I put it out there. I
You're
used to
fine.
play linebacker, so
You're
let's see if I can break down Aubrey Miller with a little bit more nuance than Isaiah Land one that was yesterday. So
fine.
in the meantime, in between time, if you're looking for me though, you can find me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.